And welcome to the Monday, June 15th, 2026 meeting of the Green Worcester Advisory Committee. My name is Mary Niddle. I will chair tonight's meeting. We apologize for the technical delays and thank you for your patience online and in the room. Before we begin, I want to go over some meeting rules and other logistical details. Tonight's meeting is in a hybrid format, which means that we have committee members, city staff, and community members both in person and online on Zoom. This is a public meeting and it is being recorded. The draft meeting minutes are generally available for review and approval at the consequent meeting. Once an agenda item is called, there will be a brief presentation on the item, followed by any additional comments and clarifications from members of the city staff, then an opportunity for anyone from the public to speak on that item before we proceed to committee discussion and action. The members of the public will be given a maximum of 2 minutes to speak in order to provide enough time for the discussion and keep the meeting on time. To help maintain an orderly meeting, please address all comments and questions through the chair rather than directly to any of the speakers or committee members. Each agenda has an opportunity for the public to speak on a matter not on the agenda for a limited amount of time, no more than 2 minutes, at the public participation / community engagement or standing items to be considered for placements on the next agenda. When an outside item on the agenda cannot be discussed by the committee while an item outside the agenda cannot be discussed by the committee may decide to take a vote to formally place the item for formal discussion on one of the forthcoming agendas. So first we will do the roll. Mary Niddle here. Evelyn Hurwitz. Pat Austin.
Here.
Ted Connor.
Here.
Mary Leovich.
Here.
And Deirdre Murphy.
Here.
Oh, did I miss you, Steve?
Yeah.
Sorry, Steve McCauley.
Here.
I just checked you off. Okay. So the second item after the roll on all of our meetings is the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. During the review process of the meeting minutes from last month, we realized an error that was made during the time we were voting on items to come forth on an upcoming agenda. We were wordsmithing it, and it ended up that we didn't do the motion right and didn't do it correctly. So that item was a motion by Member Connor for a report regarding the Green Worcester Plan, Chapter 12. So it's on the second to last page of the minutes from the last meeting. So the way we did it and reviewed it, it didn't come out according to standard practice. So I would ask if there are any other adjustments need to be made to these meeting minutes. If so, we can discuss them. If not, we would strike these from this minute set, restate it to be included in this meeting and to do it accurately. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. Sorry about the confusion. So the first question is, does anybody have any other comments or questions about the minutes to last month's meeting? Any revisions or omissions that they want to suggest or corrections? Ted, yes?
Through the chair, I don't have anything else, but I do have something to say about that. So the issue of the motions. And I, excuse me, I don't think we should just strike something from the minutes that describes what happened. That's the point of the minutes, is to be an accurate description of what's happened. So I have proposal to how to fix this so it's accurate. But my suggestion, if it's going to turn into a conversation, maybe save it until after the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Does everybody on the committee agree we'll dispense with the approval of the meetings until after the presentation, and then we'll go back to the meeting minutes?
Come back to the minutes. I mean, I can say it in a couple minutes, but I know how things turn into
No, I think that's
conversations.
appropriate.
So,
But let's do a roll
that.
call vote, because we've got, I reread the rules, and I just want to make sure that I follow all the rules, because I think I contributed to this confusion.
Oh, your
So,
roll call to change the agenda? Is that
Pardon?
what this is? You're changing the agenda?
reorganizing it, yes.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
fine.
So,
So moved.
so we have a motion from Ted to move this further along. Mary Leovich is seconding it. Thank you. So Mary Niddle, yes. Evelyn Hurwitz not here. Pat Austin?
Yes.
Ted Connor?
Yes.
Mary Leovich?
Yes, yes.
Stephen McCauley?
Yes.
And Deirdre Murphy?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, everybody. And we will move to our presentation today, and I'll turn it over to John Odell from the department to introduce our speakers.
Through the chair, thank you. So, want to introduce the good folks from Weston and Sampson. We have with us today Frank Acciapenti, I hopefully saying that somewhat correctly, and Jenny Moonen from Weston and Sampson to talk about our integrated flood model and drainage master plan, the project they've been working on for the past almost 2 years. And so at your earliest convenience, Jenny, if you don't mind, walk us through what you've been doing for the last couple of years, particularly this last year, so we can see the value of what the drainage master plan can provide.
Thank you, John. I'm actually going to start off. Again, my name is Frank Acciapenti from Weston and Sampson Engineers, and Jenny is in the process of getting the presentation up. Might have to mute that. Can everyone see the?
We are having an audio issue on our end. I apologize.
Can everyone see the presentation on your end?
Is it not working now? Oh, I'm so sorry. Hold on, guys. We're having...
Shift microphone. How's that?
Two mouses, guys. Okay. We're just going to go with it.
We're going to go with it. Might be a little echo.
Oh, you can't see it. Sorry, it's not sharing. Try again. Okay. Great. Thank you,
right.
guys.
So again, my name is Frank Acciapenti from Weston and Sampson, and just want to thank the committee tonight for allowing us to present. And again, we were here about a year ago presenting the first phase of the citywide drainage master plan and integrated model. This is a continuation of that. It's going to discuss the overall plan, the master plan. Again, the previous work under Phase 1, the current Phase 2 work that's ongoing, what a Phase 3 may look like, and beyond that. And then kind of summarize that with our conclusions, and then we can open it up to question and answers. All right. So again, the Drainage Master Plan is to provide an understanding not only for the current conditions throughout the city as it relates to flood risk, but also potential future conditions. As we know, the city is developing and evolving in throughout the city, and this model will support that work and how the impacts are related to drainage and how to prioritize that. So as we know, there's many flooding issues throughout the city, and again, in the future, it's predicted to only get worse. So how does the city prioritize that both now and in the future? So that's what this tool is developed in order to support that decision-making. It's going to be looking at capital improvement projects, evaluate the benefits and how it relates to cost, defend infrastructure investments, and also decision-making in regards to policy. We're going to be looking at, and this plan also looks at both what we call gray infrastructure, which is essentially the pipes, the manholes, the catch basins that make up the city's drainage system, as well as green infrastructure. And that will be basically detention basins, green gardens, rain gardens, and of such that are more of a natural-based solution. We're also going to be looking at understanding how the runoff in the neighboring communities impacts the system both in the city. So we're looking at regional collaboration in regards to how is a flow from surrounding communities impacting the city, and how does the city's flow impact downstream communities. That move to your agenda. So again, just an overview of the first phase of the project. Again, we started by taking the city's existing infrastructure, all the pipes, the drain manholes and catch basins, and then updating that information. So we spent a number of months going out in the field and investigating some of the infrastructure that wasn't included in the overall city mapping, just to verify and confirm that the information in the mapping was accurate before we went on to utilize that information for the hydraulic modeling. So again, the city's mapping was updated, and then we input all that information that we obtained both from the existing mapping and the information we gathered in the field, and developed what we call a 1D model. And again, it's looking at gray infrastructure, alternative screenings, as well as the natural-based solutions. And again, the gray infrastructure screening would be, do you have pipes that are undersized and need to be upsized and increased in capacity? And then again, the natural-based solutions are, can we hold that flow from getting into the system by allowing it to detain in, again, rain gardens and other detention basins before it gets into the system and gets part of that overall flow. Okay, now I'll hand it over to Jenny to talk more about phase 2.
All right, John, go ahead.
Through the chair, just one additional caveat that Frank did for the excellent overview, but I want to make people understand that the one piece that wasn't covered When you looked at that previous map in that green area, that is where we have the combined sewer system. It's sort of the donut hole, if you will, of the city. And so the first phase included everything but that. And then, as I'm sure Jenny will talk about, we're incorporating that into the second phase as part of it. But just wanted to differentiate that key piece, which is not covered in the first phase.
Thank you. Thanks, John. All right, you guys might be wondering, what have we been up to for the last year since we saw you? So we worked with the city and successfully were able to get another round of funding from the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs through the Municipal Vulnerability and Preparedness, or MVP grant program, which funded quite a bit of this work. The city, of course, has put in quite a bit of money and time, lots of time. So I do want to acknowledge that. The key tasks that we've spent effectively the last year doing are building this two-dimensional integrated flood model. And this time, instead of going out in the field and mapping the drainage system, we're actually collecting data about what happens when it rains all over Worcester. And I'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation in more detail. And then we've spent quite a bit more time on nature-based solutions concepting. We worked with Worcester Polytechnic Institute students to come up with some of the smaller scale nature-based solution ideas that build on work from phase one. And then we took even a bigger step back and thought about, gee, where can we do a big idea in Worcester that's not just nature-based solutions, but also connects to mobility and transit and public safety, creates habitat and other co-benefits. And we've been able to have a solid core team throughout this project, as well as an advisory committee, some of whom of members are here today with us, Professor Macaulay. And you cannot forget the public education and outreach. So I'm going to go over these pretty briefly, but like Frank was saying, we built on that phase one model, but this expands. And John mentioned, now we're including not just the combined sewer model, but surface water bodies, dams, bridges and culverts, where roads go over streams, or some existing models that were already built for the city of Worcester through other projects. We've included catch basins, which are those, waffle-looking grates on the side of the road that put stormwater in the drainage system. Frank mentioned we've included runoff from upstream communities. We also were able to add in impacts from the highways that go through Worcester as well as the airport. And ultimately, this gives you what's called a rain-on-grade model. It shows the impacts between where the rainfall falls and where it enters the drain or the river. Here's what the difference is between a 1D and 2D model. So on the left, you can see some of the core components of a one-dimensional model. The image at the bottom sort of represents it, and what you're seeing in the image is pipes, and then the little circles are actually how much flooding is predicted under the storm event that is being run in that model. So you just see it in these little points. It's a pipe system. It's showing those pipes. It's showing how water moves through the pipe system. It's great at evaluating the capacity of pipes and where is flooding going to be based on what the storm system can move water. It also shows flooding now and in the future, so we can evaluate not just what's happening right now, but even all the way to 2070 using state guidelines for precipitation estimates. The 2D model still has the 1D model in it. It just builds on it. And so you can see this image on the right. And what that's showing is basically, where does it flood? How far does it flood? How deep does that flooding get? It's much more dynamic. It's much more interactive. You can see where does it touch houses, where is it affecting roadways in a more nuanced way. So ultimately, this is bringing it together as a comprehensive tool for the city to use to evaluate flooding and identify effective flood mitigation strategies that go beyond just what were identified in phase one, but now can actually be paired with sort of real world conditions, specific projects that might be of interest, cost benefit. It's really helping understand where is there nuisance flooding that people report when there's a heavy rainstorm. Where is there river or water body flooding that's not just affecting the river or water body, but also getting up into the piped system and causing water to come out of catch basins or preventing water from draining from the city pipes. And like I said, you can see, where does it flood? How deep is it? Where is the water coming from and how fast is it moving? It also helps the city understand maintenance issues. The model may not predict flooding in a certain area, but there may be observed flooding, and that could be due to a clogged catch basin or a pipe that has roots in the pipe that are limiting conveyance. And so it gives the city a chance to say, well, we didn't see that in the model, why? And it could be often a maintenance issue. So like I said, this is really giving us some dynamic capabilities. I'm giving you an example of what these outputs look like. This is actually from a different site we've been working on recently with MBTA. It's not Worcester. Obviously, Worcester is also not a coastal community, so you'll see some things here that are coastal impacts, but it just gives you a sense. The map on the left is showing what the output of the flood modeling can look like when you take it and put it in geographic information system. So it's showing the extent and depth of flooding, and the very lightest blue is less than a half a foot of flooding, and the darkest blue is greater than 2 feet of flooding. And you can show these in different buckets, if you will. And the image on the right shows the flow direction and the velocity. Again, data that can be pulled into ArcGIS and overlaid with other pieces of information the city may want to analyze simultaneously. And for those who really like to see a video, I hope this works. But this gives you the idea of what you can see. So it's showing what happens in this case at this site, with some coastal flooding, with a 10-year, 24-hour storm. So that's 6 inches of rain falling along with tide influence. But in Worcester has many water bodies, and those water body levels fluctuate as well during storms, before and after. And so those impacts will also show the relationship between where it floods and from the pipes and the nuisance areas, as well as what's going on in the water bodies. So I hope that video was helpful for people to kind of see, what does this look like? I mentioned we're doing lots of monitoring. We are doing this so we can calibrate and validate the model in the next phase. I'm not gonna, the definitions are on the sidebar. I'm not gonna read them to everybody, but basically we are collecting real-time data at 7 rain gauges, 35 meters that are in the drainage system, 25 of those are temporary, and 10 of them are actually long-term that the city purchased. So we're gonna keep them in longer, and we're gonna be able to move them around too as we see different needs long-term for the city to have monitoring data in specific points. There's also 16 locations where we're metering the water body levels. 12 of those are temporary, but 4 of those are long-term, and those were strategically picked working with the core team and advisory committee. But ultimately, they keep feeding data into this model as the model evolves. So you can just see on this graph, these are the locations of the rain gauges, and this is from about a month of monitoring through mid-May. And what you see in these numbers is rain doesn't fall equally all over Worcester. It falls in different places, as we all know. So the distribution is a big part of supporting the modeling as well, as having these gauges all over. And then this map just shows where are all these meters in the system and in the streams. The left is the meters all over in the drainage system, and the map on the right generally shows where meters are in water bodies. Alrighty, let's talk about some nature-based solutions. We are at the Green Worcester Advisory Committee meeting. We, as I mentioned, worked with Worcester Polytechnic Institute students. We took the top 40 nature-based solution sites that were identified in the first phase of this drainage master plan, and they did some additional screening. They looked at, specifically zoomed in on and better evaluated flood mitigation potential. They also evaluated co-benefits like heat stress mitigation, considered equity, and also worked to look at how feasible are these really when you really zoom into the site specifically. They got to 15 sites. We worked with them to get to a top 6 that we thought would be really good for the city to have concepted. And then the city provided input and decided, let's go with this site. It seems favorable, it's a school. And they came up with a concept for the Burncoat Street Preparatory School that includes green infrastructure, specifically some bioretention areas, some swales, rain gardens, and also subsurface storage, because the goal is flood management, and to get the volume you like, you do also have to have space for the water. They did some ideas around parking reconfiguration and a safe play area, but maintaining, the parking that the school currently has. They were able to do some modeling and estimate the flows and how to size all of these pieces of the concept. And then they came up with a cost estimate just for the green infrastructure and the flood control pieces specifically. Full site redevelopment would need potential additional work and funds. And I talked about this earlier, we tried to go big. Think about what could we vision for the city. And we had a lot of debates as a group and brainstorms about where could some large-scale nature-based solutions be. And ultimately, we're preparing some feasibility level concepts, which I'll share with you in a moment. But we got to thinking about lower Beaverbrook watershed. So specifically from Beaverbrook Park, south down to Mill Lane. And thinking not just about flooding, but improved mobility and transportation, connecting to green spaces, creating recreation spaces, adding canopy to reduce urban heat, and even enhancing water quality. And so all of this came together. And these 3 concepts are here. So this is an idea for Beaverbrook Parkway. Part of it is publicly owned, part of it's privately owned. We are developing concepts for sort of the whole corridor, but what you're seeing here is a cross-section of what this roadway could look like and where the drainage green infrastructure could be. The images at the bottom are precedent images, so you can see what would a tree planting corridor look like, or a bioretention swale, or even a porous asphalt multi-use path. And the map on the right side just shows where this photo of existing conditions is taken from. So it's the same layout. Now we had some ideas for Park Avenue. And we worked with Division of Transportation and Mobility as well on this concept. And the idea is to have space for more street trees, improved sidewalks and ADA, separated bike lanes, continuing to have street parking, but with some bioretention areas. So that concept is sort of the idea for a particular corridor of Park Ave. And the last one is thinking about the parcel that's at 520 Park Avenue and what could be there. There could certainly be developed in a lot of different ways, but if there was the ability to have some space in the rear of the parcel to create some area where the stream, Beaverbrook specifically, can sort of have some more floodplain. There could be some park areas, so we could widen the stream bed, have some plantings that are going to add basically natural buffers to the stream, as well as integration potentially with public park space, but it does leave the parcel, still, there's a lot of ways this can be configured. And I just want to thank the core team members that are shown on this slide. They've been very dedicated and been very involved in providing input and guiding the whole project to have useful products for the city. And of course, our advisory committee members who have really connected the work to the broader community, academia, regional resilience initiatives. It's really helped support transparent and inclusive communication through the process. And if this project were to move forward, we're hoping these groups will continue. There was some great education and outreach. There was an elementary school program that was done by Blackstone River Watershed Association in collaboration with Worcester's DPW, and that included some interactive activities with elementary school students. And then also, we are working with somebody who is making some great educational videos on what are green jobs and urban forestry, and that should be forthcoming pretty soon before June 30th. And so with that, we'll wrap up with few last slides here. What are we doing if we are going forward in phase 3? So there'll be continued collaboration and community engagement. There's more to do on the flood model, right? We talked about calibration and validation, doing more evaluation scenarios around present and future flood risks, as well as developing a flood viewer that city staff can use interactively and actually access the model dynamically. Thinking about an operation and maintenance plan for the model itself, like what do you do every year to keep this working and going? Continuing to design flood mitigation strategies, both green and gray. And after that, there'll be routine maintenance, continued evaluation of those projects, cost benefits, continued support of nature-based solutions, including thinking about maintenance and ongoing community education and buy-in. So that's the plan. Want me to wrap up? All right, I'll wrap up. So I think we've covered all of these points, but really just want to remind you guys, this is really giving the city a great comprehensive decision-making tool. It benefits multiple departments. It can be used in a variety of ways. Again, the data can be pulled out into GIS for specific projects or to look at screenings citywide. There's options for coordination with academia. There's a lot that can be done here to be thinking about capital improvements, infrastructure investments, and policy decisions. So with that, we'll take any questions.
Well, thank you both very much. Does anybody on the committee have a question or comment? Ted? You
I
moved
do,
your
thanks. I have
microphone,
a
so-
couple. I'm sorry.
You moved your microphone, so I thought that was a...
Yeah, well, if someone else wants to go first, I'm fine, but I've got a couple of questions. The first one is, excuse me, I assume that, well, I mean, the question, maybe I shouldn't assume, the question is, what you're modeling, conditions change over time. So will it be easy, and is it part of the program to maintain the model so it remains, useful into the future forever or for however?
Yes, so the part of the next phase is developing that operation and maintenance plan, which will explain to the city specifically what do you need to think about if you are making major infrastructure changes and how do those go into the model. Typically, communities do annual updates to try to keep on top of those ongoing changes. And, you can take bigger looks at like the 5-year timescale, thinking about how land surface changes, development occurs. So there's a process that would be defined in the next phase.
So through the chair, it would basically just be like a small contract every so often to update the model. Is that right?
Yep, that's the idea.
And my second question is that among all the things you're modeling, I assume you're modeling pervious versus impervious surfaces in relation to flooding. My question is, how sensitive is that modeling? Is it basically just, yes or no, or are there grades of how absorbent the substrate is? And the reason I ask is that, there's a big difference between, a clay and a peat bog.
Yes, so it's a great question, and I'm not the modeler, so I'm not going to be able to get into granular detail, but there are a lot of pieces that go into the quote-unquote two-dimensional land cover. It's not just binary pervious or impervious. We're looking at slopes. We're looking at very nuanced topology, like literally with LiDAR data that let us really see, oh, is this a foot higher than this other spot? We're looking at soil conditions. We're looking at land use type. So where are there buildings? We have to account for flow around buildings. We look at the curb lines on roadways. To give you some ideas of all of the pieces that come together in that 2D mesh, it's not just, is it impervious or pervious? It's considering many factors.
So and you said soil conditions, that comes from what, just a USGS data set or something?
Soil conditions, we're typically using USGS data, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I have another question that's totally unrelated to what you're doing, but it is related to Weston and Sampson. But I'm gonna hold, and you might not know the answer, and that's fine. But I'll hold that until we're done with what anyone might want to ask about this.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for the presentation, and I just want to start by saying thank you for this work that you're doing. It's so interesting and cool and really helpful, and I've been privileged to get to have a little inside look on it through working with the WPI students and being on the advisory committee, and I just think it's going to be an awesome tool for the city, so thanks for that. I also just one other comment before I ask a question, which is that I think there's a real opportunity with schools. You mentioned the one small-scale site that the team has looked at a school, and I know there's another project that's going on at another school in Worcester with green infrastructure, and I just think it's an awesome opportunity to think of schools as sites for like heat havens and for places people can go that's usually within some walking distance of some school when they need either cooling centers or just places with a lot of trees. So I really like the idea of using schools as sites. This is just a general comment for everybody. A question I had, and it just builds on what Ted was just saying, is that I was curious about what you're building into the model, especially looking forward to the future, like 2070. Are you projecting not just climate change, but also development on that long time horizon?
So we're not currently projecting development to 2070 in the model. We are using existing conditions, approximately 2025, 2026 data. For projections, we're really focused on using the storm events, the specific precipitation numbers that are predicted for 2070 by the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs and all guidance for climate resiliency. And some of those storms are what's called 24-hour storms. So it's sort of like what would happen if it rained for a whole day, and you get sort of it's like a longer rain event. But some of the storms we're also looking at are shorter duration and higher intensity storms, which have been noted to be a significant problem in Worcester. So those thunderstorms where it rains 2 inches in 2 hours or whatever it may be. So we're able to evaluate those as well. So we've worked with the core team and the advisory group to get some input on those storms and picked a few key storms. But yes, so looking towards the future for land cover and how that might affect the model could be a separate exercise done in GIS and then brought back in at an update point if that was of interest to the city.
Yeah, cool.
Just to add to that, most of the development that occurs in the city is required to follow the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook. So most of the improvements that are done on a site would also improve stormwater runoff on that site. It would be equal to or better as far as what's being discharged to the system. But again, we can update that as the city develops and evolves. That can easily be improved in the model.
Anybody have any further questions or comments? Okay. Well, thank you very, very much. It's fascinating, and it's a great lesson to lay people in the amount of work that it takes to do something well and thoroughly, and the science behind it, and the nature-based solutions are particularly impressive. So thank you very much for all your time and effort, and a really good presentation.
We appreciate it. Thank you for having us.
Excuse me, through the chair, could I ask that other question?
Oh, go ahead, Ted.
Yeah. I just happened to see this in the news, and I understand this is not what you're here for, and you may not know, and that's totally fine. But there was a story in the news just a day or two back about the state of Massachusetts received, I think it was $46 million or $64 million, some decent amount of money to build 92 EV charging stations along, highways all over the state. This is from a federal grant from a Biden-era program. They chose 3 vendors 2 years ago, including Weston and Sampson, to sort of evaluate sites and construct stations. But the story was that, 2 years later, there's nothing built yet. And the gist of the story was, okay, why not? And people are complaining, why is it so slow? And the other 2 vendors, they had something to say about. Weston and Sampson, they knew nothing at all. So I'm wondering if you know anything at all about the status of that.
I do not.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. I just figured you might. So no worries. Thank you for this work.
Thank you, appreciate it.
It was great.
Thank you.
When I leave, this is all going to fall apart.
Okay, well, do you want us to wait, Jess? All right, we're going to take a moment to change the computer. Thank you. You want to see what's at 520 Park Ave?
Yeah, I was wondering, my favorite book is at the shopping plaza.
So that's where the car dealership used to be.
The Clark bought that.
Yeah, pardon?
Clark bought that,
Oh, did they?
but then it's just been sitting there, and so I've been wondering what is going on there.
Oh, I
It's
didn't
an
realize they
incredible
bought it.
site for something interesting.
Yeah.
I've been thinking that for years. It should be some cool, green infrastructure on the 520 Park Ave. Yeah, yeah.
I didn't realize Clark bought that.
That's what I was wondering, because it's been sitting there for a while. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm.
So I figured out it was different with the lights in here. They're usually whiter. They usually have like the daytime, and now they look like the ambiance has changed. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, do you have? Yeah. Oh.
I was having problems with mine. And, doing all this Googling on why it wasn't why can't I see my face, on the Zoom, the cat had walked across the keyboard. I didn't realize, it's just one of the function buttons up at the top and had knocked it off and trying all these rebooting things.
Please stand by, everybody.
What are all those buttons on the keyboard? Things we
manages to hit the ones that like screw things up.
Okay. Can you, on your laptop, see who's on there? You can see everybody at the same time.
Yeah, Deirdre, Mary, Kaylee.
All right. So as long as we're aware of anybody
I can start.
has their hand up, right? Okay. All right. Thanks again, folks, for your patience. So we're going to return to the conversation about the minutes from last month's meeting. And Ted had the floor before he recommended that we postpone, which was a very good idea for the speakers. So I'll turn it back over to you, Ted.
Thank you. Through the chair, hopefully this will be anticlimactic, because I don't think we did anything terribly wrong. What happened, I think maybe we're a little too informal about exactly what the motions were and where they came from. And we often kind of operate by consensus, which is fine with me. But in this case, I came away with a misperception of what we had done, and then I went back and carefully reviewed the meeting tape, and it is clear, but I wanted the minutes to be clear about what we did. So this is what I would propose. If you go to the second to last page of the minutes, right above number 8, adjournment, you'll see there's a bold section about the motions. Has everybody got that? Okay, so I'm just going to read the changes I think would make it more accurate, would make it accurate. So a motion was made by Member Khanna for instead of report, the word discussion, because that is, I didn't ask for a report, I asked for a discussion regarding Green Worcester Plan, Chapter 12, Action Item 8, which states establish sustainability performance outcomes, yada, yada. Projects seeking tax incentives from the city. That part in quotes does not change. And then I would like to add a sentence that says, Chair Niddle and Member Hurwitz suggested GWAC request a DSR report on the matter to be provided to GWAC within the next 3 months. And that is exactly what happened.
That's what he wanted.
I think both Chair Niddle and Member Hurwitz suggested those things. And then I have no more changes to the bullet points. Where it says the motion, I would say the revised motion. And that's the last change on that. And then we go to the second motion.
All right, can we back up on that one?
You want to
then?
go back to that one first? Sure.
So the revision you would like to add,
I have this in writing, and I also have got it queued up to email to Project Manager Davis. Assuming we approve this, it's ready, I'll just give it.
okay, well, then go ahead and go to the second
But
one.
you want me to do it again? Yes, change report to discussion, add the sentence, and then refer to the revised motion. And you want to hear the sentence again? Chair Niddle and Member Hurwitz suggested GWAC request a DSR report on the matter to be provided to GWAC within the next 3 months. So, and that's it for that first motion.
Say it, Chair Niddle and Member Hurwitz suggested that.
You want me to read it again?
Yeah, just that sentence.
Chair Niddle and Member Hurwitz suggested that GWAC request a DSR report on the matter to be provided to GWAC within the next 3 months. You know, if this would be helpful, I can email this to all of you right now. It's on my phone. I don't know if that's helpful.
All right, so the question is, the motion was made by Member Khanna for a discussion regarding the Green Worcester plan,
Yeah.
establish sustainability, et cetera, the bullet points. Chair Niddle and Member Hurwitz suggested that the GWAC request a report on the matter to be provided in the next 3 months. The revised motion was seconded by Chair Hurwitz and passed unanimously.
That's right. So, and that, I think, it's clear enough. It's exactly what we did without belaboring the details.
Through the chair to the chair, the only concern from an administrative perspective on that is, while I appreciate the context, that the context should not actually be in the motion itself. The motion should just be the motion. It shouldn't have context in it that is not where that belongs. So if there was I'm not sure how you want to figure that out, but I would suggest that the motion itself is simply that we had a motion to make the report, which is what ended up being the vote.
Okay, so can we say without changing?
So through the chair, by context, you mean the extra sentence?
Yes.
Well, okay, so here's the problem, and this is where we were informal. The motion sort of evolved. It started with me, and then it evolved with additional input from Chair Niddle and Member Hurwitz. And then it was kind of repeated enough that we all should have known what it was. Apparently, I wasn't completely clear on what it was that I voted on. But when I watched the tape, it's clear what it was and where it came from. It's not accurate to say that all of that came from me, because I actually was not on board with waiting 3 months for this, but that's what we did, and it should have been clear to me that's what I was doing, and I accept that. So, but I don't see any problem with having that in there. It's describing how the motion, what it was and where it came from.
So I think that the technical issue is that the fact that we had conversation and revised the motion can be part of the minutes, but not necessarily part of the motion. So we voted on a motion that had more to it than it needed to have. So,
Well, so do you want to?
so I think the idea would be, our goal here would be to make a new motion that says the same, succinctly says what we want without the commentary on who added what part. Anybody can make that motion now that we're all on the same page with it anyway, but just to clarify what the motion is so that it can be acted on. That's what
Uh,
the ask
I'm-
is.
Through the chair, I'm unclear. You're talking about we do that tonight?
We can do that tonight.
Okay, but what we're talking about is what the minutes need to say. And if you just, delete it entirely, you left a hole in the minutes where something belongs. We did something. And if you want to unbold the piece where you suggested something, but that did become part of the motion, so it needs to be there. And it didn't come from me, so it shouldn't say that I moved it. Honestly, we didn't do anything wrong. We were just informal, and we should.
We didn't do anything wrong. We're just trying to do it correctly so that it is consistent with what we're supposed to be doing.
But what I'm saying is this language is correct. I spent more time than I should have making sure this was correct. And it is correct. So I don't, and with all due respect, it's our job to approve our minutes.
So,
Through the chair, I would suggest as a solve is to take the very line that you're talking about that I believe it is not part of the motion but is context, and just move that into the minutes just above the motion, because that did happen, and Ted's right, and that would be captured there. So it would be in the minutes. It just wouldn't be in the motion itself. So we're just putting it in the appropriate spot, I believe, to capture what was conveyed at the meeting, but also separating it from the context from the actual motion itself, which is, I think, the proper way to move forward.
Through the chair, if you do that, my motion was that this be on tonight's agenda, and it isn't. So there's a problem with that. That's why.
Through the chair, that wasn't the motion, though, that was voted on. The vote was,
well, that's right.
The motion was what was the amended motion was not discussion, but actually report. And so that would be accurate still.
So that is the point. The motion was amended informally, which is less than ideal, but I accept it. So we need to state what that informal amendment was. It is part of the motion. That's what we voted on. And also, this is out of order. It actually occurred a few paragraphs back. It's already been separated in the minutes from the other context. I don't quite understand that, but, it's not making it any clearer to carve it up and go put it somewhere else. It's what we approved.
So we have, does anybody else want to weigh in on this? Okay, hearing nothing there.
So,
But I don't think that line is in this.
no, what, you haven't seen let me send it to you. Hold on. There's one line in
No,
there
this is a revised
that
edit.
you disliked, and I said, fine, I don't care about that. And that came out. So let me just, give me a second.
So what is happening here is that Ted emailed these recommendations to the department over the weekend. So this is not the first time that the department heard about it, and we talked about it today since we would have to discuss it, so I needed to be aware of it. But the motion that the language that Ted just provided was slightly different than what he sent over the weekend to the department. So we're clarifying that we're all on the same page.
Ms. Davis, I just emailed you revised revision. There's one clause that's been taken out that you were not happy with, and that's fine. So that's what I'm proposing is that language. And I would move that we amend these minutes as I just described.
Would it make sense to say the motion was made by Member Khanna and then modified, amended by Chair Niddle and Member Hurwitz regarding et cetera, and then just adding in the 3 months on that sentence? Okay, I think, so rather than striking this from the minutes, we will, the motion would be to amend the minutes this way.
In the way that I just emailed to you.
Amend, not cancel.
And
So it
what
would
I
say,
just read.
well, no, I'm adding one more thing
Oh,
so that
what?
that context is there. So it would say a motion was made by Member Khanna and then amended by Chair Niddle and Member Hurwitz for a report regarding Green Worcester Plan, Chapter 12. And then everything stays the same until after qualifying criteria, and that this report would be provided within the next 3 months. The motion was seconded by Vice Chair Hurwitz, passed unanimously, et cetera. They should hear you. They need to hear you, Ted. The committee members that are online can't hear you.
What I want to say is, you and Heather can't amend it without a vote.
You can't, excuse me, we have to have everything. It's
Okay.
For public meeting has to be.
Okay,
public.
it's not accurate to say that two people can amend something without taking a vote on it. So that's why I said suggested. You know, I'm trying not to, it's just, this is what happened, it's fine. But let's say what happened. It's not accurate to say you amended it because an amendment requires a vote. But I did understand, or I should have understood, what the final version was, and that's what we voted on.
Okay.
It's not, you know, I mean, I
Then-
don't understand why this is so hard. I really don't. But it should be accurate.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, can I just offer my perspective from what I'm hearing? What I'm hearing is that Ted requested a discussion, and that was never voted on. Before any vote was taken, that request for a discussion evolved into a request for a report, and that's what was voted on.
That is correct.
Okay, so can we say a motion was made by Member Khanna for a discussion regarding Green Worcester Plan. A vote was never taken on that motion. Another motion was made by Chair Niddle and Member Hurwitz to request a report about that, and that motion passed.
You could say that.
Okay, good.
Can you actually say it again so I can type it?
Yeah. So a motion was made by Member Khanna for a discussion regarding Green Worcester Plan, Chapter 12, Action Number 8. A vote was never taken on that motion. A motion was then made by Chair Niddle and Member Hurwitz requesting a report on the Green Worcester Plan, Chapter 12, Action Item 8,
Within the next 3 months.
within the next 3 months.
Excuse me, through the chair, you better say that Chair Niddle made the motion because Member Hurwitz is the second.
Sure.
So let it be Chair Niddle's motion.
So let's take a vote on the suggested language of the amended minutes. Are we comfortable with the amended minutes this way? Do we have to, somebody had to make a motion to amend the minutes?
So that I'm clear, but the language, we're changing what I said to the following sentence. Chair Niddle moved or made a motion that guac request report provided within next 3 months. And then we don't say revised motion, we just say that motion. Second and passed. Yeah, that's,
So do I hear a motion to replace this in the minutes?
it was Steve's idea.
Yes, yes.
Okay, Steve made the motion, and we have a second?
Second.
Okay. So we'll do a roll call on this. Mary Niddle, yes. Evelyn, absent. Pat Austin.
Yes.
Ted Khanna.
Yes.
Mary Leovich.
Abstain.
Stephen McCauley.
Yes.
And Deirdre Murphy.
Yes.
Thank you very much, everybody. Were there any other comments or issues with the minutes from last month that we need to address before we accept the full minutes?
Well, I've got another one on the following motion, which should be easier.
Good.
I think. I think. So on this following one, I'm rewording some of it just for clarity. Member Khanna made a motion. Here's what I would like to say. Instead of status as, I would like to say Worcester's potential to become a DOER climate leader community, and what it would take for Worcester to adopt a zero-emission vehicles first policy. That's just fleshing it out a little bit to make it more clear. And then I'm adding a suggestion that says he accepted Chair Niddle's suggestion that it be on the GUAC agenda for discussion in June or July, which I did. So that's kind of friendly amendment. Friendly amendments, I think, you know, we often do things by consensus, and I think that's fine. And that's it. That's the only change to that one.
So we're essentially wordsmithing it, just clarifying the potential to become, so you want to have a motion for a report or a motion for a discussion?
Motion for a report.
Okay.
Oh,
On
good
Worcester's-
point. No, I did ask for a discussion, and it turned into another report.
So,
No. The reason I left that alone is that ultimately, after that long discussion, on the tape you hear me say "so moved," which means I agreed to all of it before we did it. So that's fine. It can be, I ended up agreeing to ask for a report. That's why I didn't change that.
so the motion was made for a report on Worcester's potential to become a DOER climate leader and adopt a zero-emission vehicle-first policy?
Climate leader community and what it would take for Worcester to adopt a zero emissions vehicles first policy. He accepted Chair Niddle's suggestion that it be on the GUAC agenda for discussion in June or July. That's it. Those are the changes. Pretty simple.
Is that,
So I would move that we change it in that way.
okay. Ted moves a second?
Second.
Pat? We will do a roll call on this. Mary Niddle, yes. Evelyn, not here. Pat Austin?
Yes.
Ted Khanna?
Yes.
Mary Leovich?
No.
Stephen McCauley?
Abstain.
And Deirdre Murphy?
Yes.
Okay. So are there any other questions or comments or revisions for the minutes before we take a motion to accept the rest of the minutes?
Can you count out how many yeses, noes?
Yeses, 1, 2, 3, 3 yeses, 4 yeses. Mary, Pat, Ted, and Deirdre. 1 no and 1 abstain. Okay, so do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Pat?
Second.
Steve? Okay. We'll do a roll call. Mary, yes. Evelyn's glad she's in Japan. Pat Austin?
Yes.
Ted Connor?
Yes, yes.
Mary Leovich?
No.
Stephen McCauley?
Yes.
And Deirdre Murphy?
Yes.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses and 1 no. Okay. Thank you, everybody. This has been a learning experience for me. And I,
Did I get, I don't know this one. I can't hear you.
okay. We'll move on now to item number 4, which is public participation and community engagement. Is anyone from the public online or in the room?
The only no.
Okay. So there being nobody online to do it and nobody in the room to do it, we will move on to Department of Sustainability and Resilience project updates.
Through the chair, thank you. So a few updates for you. First off, we have hired Sarah Hayden as our Sustainability and GIS Analyst. She started with us last week. She's already doing great work for us. We're very excited to have her on board. So hopefully we can now move forward with a lot of our sustainability and GIS work that has been put on pause for the last few months. So great news on that front. Also wanted to give you an update on the zero waste program. I'll turn it over to Jesse to walk us through that.
Thank you, John. So pretty quick updates here. First, our city manager's clean team, upcoming events. Taylor, who you met last time, our new zero waste coordinator, has been working really hard with our partners at the Quality of Life team and DPW and ISD, and the events are really coming together. The first one this year will be June 27th. We initially planned one in May that didn't work out. We didn't have a lot of signups, and the weather ended up being rainy both days. So we just decided to postpone it, and now we're getting a lot more signups with more time to do outreach. So that information is on our website, and we request that people register in advance so we have enough bags and gloves and supplies. The next item is about our WU bins program, our dual stream waste bins that are on the city streets, so the city sidewalks. So we just started with a new contractor, Strong and Reliable. They have been doing a great job so far. They have a specific truck that is very quiet and able to pull to the side of the road easily. You know, we're over a year into our first year pilot of this program, and we've learned a lot about what it takes to collect waste from these bins on the sidewalk. It's a pretty unique program, so there's been a lot to learn doing this. And we feel really good about this new partnership we have with this new contractor, this specific truck that's quieter and smaller to fit to the side of the road. They also are doing a lot of data gathering, working with Taylor to track the fullness of the bins, the locations, to see if there's any issues with dumping, which luckily has been not super common. There's a couple spots that have shown to be maybe trouble spots that we might reconsider the locations over time. Now that we have Sarah on board, she'll be analyzing all this data to help us make some actual data-informed decisions rather than just kind of some rash, oh, this looks like there might be dumping there, but no, we're going to actually see what the data says and help us make decisions. So very exciting. We have a new partner and our team has grown, so the program is doing really well. And they, at our last check-in meeting, said, oh, someone came up to me while I was emptying the bin and said, this is such a great program, the city needs more of these. And it was like, this is awesome to hear. Like, you know, sometimes you hear just the complaints about things, and then you hear these good news. It's like, oh yeah, people do really care that we're trying to clean up the litter. So it's great. It's an update on that program. We'll have a 1-year contract with them, and so far it's going really well. Thank you.
That's a question to the chair. I'm just curious, what's the data collection process like for this truck driving around? Is it automated? Are people looking at things? What's that like?
So there's usually 2 staff on the truck, and they have just an iPad or a phone, whichever one, and they fill out like a survey form that says like bin number, fullness, is it contaminated, is the recycling contaminated, are there issues with graffiti or dumping, fullness level. So it's just a checklist. They go down, enter. So one person is out cleaning and emptying the bins, the other one is checking through it, and then they go on to the next stop. And then it all gets through this like survey form into our online system and into an Excel. Does that
Thank you.
answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
Cool.
Go ahead, Pat.
Through the chair, what's the status of the plan, the zero waste plan?
Through the chair, we are working on that right now. We have our consultant is now working on putting together the draft final version. We're hoping that we will have that available sometime later in the summer for last looks from the steering committee in particular, and for others, this committee, in fact, to make less input to it, and then we will, once we get it to that level, we will incorporate those changes that may come up. Hopefully they'll be relatively minor, and then we will present to the council. All that is anticipated sometime in the probably early mid-fall.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions before we move on? No? Okay.
Moving on to energy. So the first part is our Smart Energy Advice Program. Again, I'll turn that over to Jesse.
Thank you, John. Through the chair, again, we did a short progress report for you. Keep it simple, just picked out a couple of top things we did in the last month. One was we went to the Worcester Community Action Council Community Clinic and tabled there to assist primarily income-eligible residents, helping them sign up with the discount rate on their utility bills and answer questions about energy assessments and that sort of thing. It was a really great turnout. Our energy advocate, Gabby, said it went really well. She also went to the Latino Education Institute Open for Business event, which she said was super fun. They had like lots of food and music and small businesses that were promoting their businesses and mostly speaking in different languages, and it was a really like fun environment to be part of. And it seems like they have those at a semi-regular cadence, maybe like a few times a year, so we're going to check that out and see if we can continue, because there was also a really good reception there. And we also are working on interdepartmental partnerships for this program. So we're partnering right now with the health department to create some outreach materials, because there's a lot of overlap between energy efficiency in your home and your health, human health. Your space can really impact your health. So we did a social media post, and we're going to do some flyers about air quality in your home. And those were the main updates we wanted to share with you about our outreach efforts in the last month. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions about those? No? Carry on then.
And moving on to the Mass CEC Green Schoolworks Grant Award. We were successful in receiving a grant of $2.73 million to do work at the City View School. This was a highly competitive grant. There were 61 other communities applying. Only 9 received grants. We were fortunate enough to get one. Shout out to Abby Shute, who's our senior energy manager for the city. She did a great job putting that grant together, successful grant together. The money will be targeted primarily to look into the impact of switching the primary heating source to air source heat pumps that heat water. So we've talked about this at previous GWOC meetings, and this is going to be an example of us implementing this technology at a school that hopefully we can then use as a roadmap for how we can do it at other facilities here in the city, and for potentially other businesses to learn from our work as well. So that's the update on that. That should be a last bit. The project itself will be implemented through our ongoing ESPC ESCO contract. So the vendor, Honeywell, will be the ones who will be actually doing the installation work that will be using the grant funds to do that air source heat pump work.
That's great, thank you. Ted?
So through the chair, I guess the couple questions, this ends up being like a pilot. And if, I'm assuming, just correct me if I'm wrong, I'm assuming we sort of learn from it. It's easier as we get to other schools, but is it scalable to other schools in the sense that they have similar distribution systems? So what we learn at City View can be moved elsewhere and maybe done at more efficiently, at less expense?
Through the chair, yes. So there are a number of water-based heating systems currently, gas-based, that have water distribution systems. And so this would allow this example to be potentially replicated in other schools as well as other city facilities.
Excellent.
Any other questions or comments about the energy section?
Through the chair?
Yes.
I have a couple things on energy, which, so let's see, in the past month I attended a webinar and also...
Let's hold that for the later part of the meeting as opposed to their presentation.
Well, okay, it just relates to energy, but it's not theirs, it's...
Yeah, this is
something-
their update section. We'll add it on later.
What section?
We're on the Department of Sustainability update section.
Okay, it's not on the agenda, it's related to energy, that's why I brought it up, but if you want to hear it, it'll take a few minutes and it's interesting.
If it falls into items for consideration on future agendas, we can talk about it later.
I mean, I could put it there. You're the chair.
Okay, let's go to Lakes and Ponds.
Through the chair, thank you. So moving on to the Lakes and Ponds program. Couple things. We have some upcoming events. Our water chestnut poll is scheduled for Saturday, June 27th at Lake Quinsigamon. Specifically, that's over at Gauche Park at 61 Main Street in Shrewsbury. We would encourage folks to register. The registration site is on the city's website. If you go to sustainability page and look under Lakes and Ponds, you'll find it there. There are a limited number of canoes and kayaks that we have, so if you want one of them, register. And then the second event is at July 11th at Coes Reservoir. I should mention the Lake Quinsigamon event starts on the 27th at 9 a.m. and will end around noon. The Coes Reservoir event is Saturday, June 11th, also from 9 a.m. And that is at the Binyenda Beach, which is right at Coes Pond Beach, often called on Mill Street. Again, please do register, particularly if you're looking to use one of the kayaks or canoes that we have, as opposed to bringing your own. So those two events are upcoming. And then wanted to also mention at Coes Reservoir as well, we did an invasive plant removal. We discovered a new population of the invasive plant fanwort over at Coes. It was the first time we discovered it in quite some time there. We did do a pull from that. We had a diver team that pulled these out to remove them, which is great, and was obviously no herbicides were needed for that particular effort. We're grateful for the collaboration with the folks at the Knights of Columbus. They were able to let us use their site for access to the pond, which was super helpful, and for this event. So we're hopeful that if we've caught it all, but if we don't, we got some partners in there that can help us so we can mitigate this before it becomes an actual more serious problem. And so that's the updates we have for lakes and ponds. And then the last item, which is related city council items, I was just going to mention that we have both the annual report on the agenda for tomorrow, as well as the already mentioned Greenworks school grant was on the agenda. But none of that is going to be debated or anything. That's just more of a let people know, and we've already discussed the annual report at the GWAC meeting, prior GWAC meeting, so nothing new there either.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments about the department's updates?
Through the chair, I didn't. I just happened to look at the city council agenda last night, and in addition to the Green Worcester Plan annual report, the first mobility action plan annual report is out. So that's of interest to us. And there were a couple of other little items. One of the counselors is asking for a report on controlling the invasive tree of heaven, the invasive plant. And then it looks like they're asking DSR for reports on WUBIN locations, specialized code training, cool pockets, and the cost of cool pockets, heat islands, and misting locations. And that's coming from counselors. They're asking, they're asking you to produce reports.
Yeah, through the chair, so correct. So they've asked us for that, but we have nothing to report on that specifically as of yet.
Yeah. Understood. And as I understand it, sometimes the council asks for reports. They don't always get them. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. But this is,
Yeah, no comment.
No comment. So.
Okay, so any other questions or comments about the department updates? So moving on then to our standing items. We have items for consideration on future agendas. Does anybody have anything new they would like to add for a future agenda? Ted?
I do, but first, if the committee is interested, I would give a 3 or 4 minute report on what I learned at those 2 events relating to energy. I don't have to, it's not on the agenda, but I've done this in the past, a couple of things, and
Well, if it might be pertinent to putting something on a future agenda, I think it makes sense to do it here.
it's all related. Okay, so you're
Go
squeezing it in there? Go ahead. Sure. I went to one in-person event, one webinar, and this is not a full report because both of these presentations were kind of dense, and I didn't honestly follow all of it. But here are some of the nuggets that I brought home. It's a long time since we heard that National Grid had a $5 billion plan to upgrade the grid, and that was going to solve all our problems. And I've been assuming ever since that would solve all our problems. So at one of these events, the National Grid were people were there. So I asked them about that for an update on how that was going. And the answer was, well, the DPU never approved that. So what they asked us to do is build it into our ongoing operations. So it sounds like they're still trying to do it, but it's kind of piecemeal, and I'm not sure that's good, but that's what I learned. Second thing, and many of you may know this, but when we electrify everything, optimistically everything is electrified, there's going to be a peak shift from summer to winter, because now the peak is AC, but it's going to be heat. And the peak is going to increase, it's going to more than double by 2050. And we're going to meet that either with clean energy or with fossil. And the challenge with clean energy is in the winter, some of the renewable stuff is less available. The webinar I went to said that you can meet that with behind-the-meter solar plus storage. And they said if you have storage, meaning batteries, of at least 40% of the solar capacity, that's adequate to meet the peak, okay, which is interesting. They said the technical potential for this is huge, that there's a very large potential in environmental justice neighborhoods, but very little deployment yet. And that there are huge equity issues here because if either those EJ communities are going to get stranded on fossil fuel or we're going to move to renewables. And they also mentioned that 80% of power plants are within 1 mile of environmental justice neighborhoods. And we have a lot of those in Worcester, a lot of EJ neighborhoods, that is. So, so that was interesting. Now, the one elephant in the room that was not answered is who's going to pay for that. There's a good-sized potential, but very little deployment, especially in the EJ communities. And the final thing I learned from someone who should know, and this is very interesting, is that when we heard all of the objections to the specialized code a few weeks ago from those who were trying to put it on hold, they talked about the soft cost of the specialized code being more than they, wanted to expend. What I learned is that some of those things that are getting lumped into soft costs are required with or without the specialized code. So that the cost impact of the specialized code is getting exaggerated by its opponents. And it's important to understand that. So that's it. That's my
The good points of
tidbits of knowledge.
knowledge, Ted, thank you. Do we have any items specifically for upcoming agendas?
I do,
Okay,
yes. You want to go to that?
yes, that's where we are.
So, let's see. The first thing I want to do is just, I want to be clear that those two things we just spent a lot of time talking about in the minutes, those motions, one was for within 3 months, the other was for the next couple of months as of May. So that would mean both of those will be on the July agenda because we don't meet in August. So I just wanted to clarify that. We've already moved that we do that.
Right, well, I would imagine, I don't think when we suggested 3 months, we were probably thinking 3 meetings, but we can aim for July.
When we said 3 meetings, we can change it. The thing, this sort of leads to why that was all so important to me, without getting too far down that rat hole. I had asked for a discussion, not a report. I do understand that a report takes staff time and it's asking something of DSR, and we don't dictate that to DSR. You know, our role is to advise. We're happy to collaborate. We're grateful for whatever support that DSR gives us. But if we want to talk about something, particularly something that under the Green Worcester plan is 3 years overdue already, I don't want to have to argue about whether we have to wait another 3 months to have the conversation. And there was a lot of back and forth about that at the last meeting. I do not understand why anything has to wait 3 months to get on our agenda. And you can't tell me that it doesn't belong on our agenda because the open meeting law doesn't allow us to talk about anything outside of these meetings. So if the whole group wants to discuss something, I think we shouldn't have to wait 3 months. So that's just to put in context why we spent so much time on that at the last meeting and just now at this meeting, which I didn't want to do, but it's matters of process and what our roles are really as well. DSR administers this committee. They support us with minutes, they organize the meetings, they help put the agenda together, all of this, they administer the committee. It's not their role to tell us what to do in here. Just as it's not our role to tell them or anybody else what to do. We advise. So is that clear? So, and I guess what I'm saying is, we asked for it on the agenda for what would amount to now the July meeting. If they can't have a report ready or one of the reports ready, well, then it gets pushed forward, And John at the last meeting said he had no problem with that, and neither do I. It's like stuff happens. But if I was ready to talk about it tonight, and I can't because it's not on the agenda. And I was going to propose that it be added to the agenda, but I won't. So
I feel in response to that, the challenge with putting an agenda item on the agenda to have a discussion is that we're not all coming from the same place in the discussion, and that our role would be to review information provided by speakers or provided by reports and discussing that, and that the ad hoc groups for brainstorming and broadening the conversation can be made at any time in smaller sections of our team here. But to have just unwielding discussions in this place is probably not the best use of this committee. If there were certain topics that people wanted to, we've talked about this before, that we want to kind of flesh out and come up with a motion or come up with a plan or seek more information, then to do that separately in the ad hoc groups would be the place, I think. But we haven't put discussions specifically on here because I'm not even sure that everybody wants to discuss the same things. So we'd have to inventory that so that people get a fair shake. There are people that don't get to express their thoughts very often, and we want to encourage that part of participation. So maybe we can look for broader speakers sometimes or something to react to, but that itself as a consideration for an item, like we're looking right now for an item to put on a future agenda. And is the item whether or not we can discuss anything randomly. I'm not sure where we're going with it. And we've been at this for 2 hours now. So I think we have to get something concrete, and, I'll take somebody else's suggestion. If someone wants to have a conversation about a specific thing and provide others that don't have that background with that information, I think really maybe finding a speaker or something is a way to inform ourselves. I don't know.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
At the last meeting, I moved that we discuss a couple of things that were very specific. Somehow it wasn't specific enough. We spent 20 minutes going around about it to nail it down what it was going to be. And the entire committee wanted to do that and agreed to do it. If we proposed, if I move to discuss or someone moves to discuss something as a committee, and the committee agrees that they want to do that and puts it on the agenda, I don't understand what the problem is with that. We come in here, we listen to reports, we ask questions, that's fine. We listen to the city's reports, that's fine. We also have every right to discuss matters of sustainability that are important to Worcester and the implementation of the Green Worcester Plan. And we don't have to have a report or something to react to do that. We just have to agree among ourselves that we want to sit and have that discussion.
So, yeah, so what I'm learning, and I'm not perfect at this either, we want to make sure that if we're putting together an agenda, we have fair information. We get our agenda 4 days before a meeting. So that doesn't necessarily give us time to do the research perhaps necessary for that discussion or have the tools for it. So I'm trying to establish that if we're going to do something, it has to be very specific. And I don't know. Steve, I see you going for your thing. Do you have something you'd like to add?
Yeah.
You're good at
just waiting,
entangling my
sorry.
thoughts.
No, I just,
Got our way out of the last paper bag, thank you.
well, I do agree with Ted that this is a space where we should be able to discuss things, and particularly with regards to that topic of, meeting city energy efficiency or energy goals in general. It proved really hard to do actually in our task force. And so it kind of seemed like, we need to kind of put our heads together with the whole committee. So I wasn't there for the conversation last time, so I don't know if there were specific reasons why that particular thing didn't get on the agenda. But I mean, we do have like others come in, like the folks from Weston Sampson tonight and others who come give a presentation. Is it like that? Like a committee member could offer to make a presentation about a topic that could fit in that space so that we don't necessarily all have to be prepared for it, but if one person is prepared and wants to present, then we can respond to their presentation, essentially. Is that something that would work within the structure of the committee?
Yeah, I think so. And we've done that a little bit in the past. So I think that is a very good suggestion.
Agreed,
Yeah.
through the chair. And your point that we only get the agenda a couple days or, few days before we come up here. I mean, I assume that's part of the reason. We could put something on the agenda that's really timely. You could do that in cooperation with DSR at the last minute. I don't think any of us would object. But you've also created this process where we sort of set it out at the previous meeting. And that gives any of us who wants to prepare at least a month to prepare. So can I get to the specific motions I have for things on the July agenda? That in light of all this?
Yeah, please.
Okay, great. So the first thing, just to clarify, and if it isn't clear, I'll move it again. I move that we discuss the two items, Green Worcester Plan 12.8 and the zero emission vehicle first policy at the July meeting. And I don't think we need to restate that, but if we do, that's a motion. That we do that in July, or that at least we put it on the July agenda. Not everything on the agenda gets completed, but that it should be on the July agenda.
Through the chair, I think we, just for administrative purposes, I think we've already voted, you guys already voted on what the process would be on those specific items in terms of the report, which will come when we get that report. That would be the time to discuss the item, which may be the July agenda, maybe the one after. I'm not sure. We haven't done the report yet, but that would be, for administrative purposes, I don't want to have both items conflict with each other, especially if you already have the one. The other seems somewhat redundant, but your call on that.
Well, through the chair, what was already approved by the committee was those items with those timeframes, and if they were on those timeframes, then they would be on the July agenda. So that's all I'm asking. Am I wrong? If a report isn't ready and it's on the agenda, well, the report's not ready yet. It's not the end of the world, you know? But I'd like to see it on the agenda. So do I need a motion for that or not?
And we've already voted to put it on the agenda. So I believe we don't need a new motion for that.
Okay, so I can expect to see it on the July agenda, those two things.
Whether the reports are ready or not.
Yeah.
Is that the goal? I mean, we want to be reasonable, and we want to be, I believe.
It's reasonable to cut them some slack if they aren't ready, but under what we voted, they should be on that agenda.
So if those two items on the agenda, we've already asked in those timeframes, right? We've established that? The way they're written.
Timeframes
Yeah, so they'll be on the agenda.
are established.
Are you adding? Are there other items that you're
Just
adding?
clarifying that they will see them in July.
So, yes.
Yes. Moving on. I would like when DSR reports on energy, as we did tonight, I would like to add a little section 3 or whatever it is, which would be an ongoing update as to what the city's efforts and progress are with the specialized code. Because we want to keep a hawk eye on that, because we know there are forces out there trying to pull that rug out from under us. There may be nothing to report, but I would just like to be kept up to date on an ongoing basis. What is the city doing to make that work? You know, who's using it, et cetera. And that's, and I have more to say about that, but it's also not on the agenda right now, so.
So you want to put on the agenda for our next meeting that we ask the city about specialized stretch code updates?
I would move that it be part of DSR's project updates under subsection C, energy, that we get that report every month.
All right, so we're not taking a motion on it now because it wasn't on the agenda, but we can put on the agenda for next time and then we'll make a
The
motion.
motion is to add it as an ongoing agenda item,
Okay.
to add
Do we
that
need
to
a
the
motion for
agenda
that?
as an ongoing report.
To talk about this.
All right.
Through the
So-
chair, yes, you do need to have a motion to put this for the agenda for next time. That would be,
Okay, that would be,
So that's
we'll
just,
ask to put that on the July
Yeah, the motion is
agenda
that,
as well, so that we can take a vote on asking the city to give us further updates.
is that, I mean, is that a, okay. Okay, so the motion is to add that as an ongoing update from the city regarding,
Through the chair, not to interrupt, but just for the motion would be to put it on the agenda. If you decide at that next meeting to make that an ongoing piece, that's something you can vote on then. But until then, it's not a topic for debate now. So you can just simply put the item on the agenda for next meeting, which is effectively the same thing, but that's what the motion should be.
okay, fine, then that.
So do we have a second?
So moved.
So the motion is
Please,
for the next, so the motion is for the next meeting.
What John said.
No, we can't do that. We've got to
That's
read.
I know, that's a problem.
What we would like to put, would somebody else like to state?
The motion is to add a specialized code implementation update under the department's updates on energy.
Just specialized code update.
Fine, and you'll put it where it belongs. Fine.
Okay, so the motion from Ted is to add a specialized code, to put on the agenda, to add a specialized code update to future agendas. Do we have a second?
just to put on the agenda, July agenda.
Okay, we don't need to vote what we're putting on the agenda.
You don't need to for future agendas piece. You don't need anything. You just need to have it put on the agenda. And now a second, which I believe has been made.
Second, yeah.
Okay. Do we need to do a roll call? Okay. Let me find my list. Good heavens. Sorry, I've got to find my checklist here. I reorganized. All right, this might be in a different order. Mary Niddle, yes. Evelyn not here. Pat Austin? Yes. Ted?
Yes.
Mary Leovich? Okay, Mary's not here. Stephen McCauley?
Yes.
Deirdre Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. And I'm going to apologize before about making a comment about Evelyn. I shouldn't have done that, so I'm sorry. I will apologize to her. Not being here. It was not appropriate. Okay. Do we have any other items for future agendas?
Through the chair, I have two more.
Two more.
Yes.
All right, we're losing people. I don't know,
Those
do we
two.
have a quorum anymore? If you leave, we do have a quorum.
Okay, I gotta go, sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
But we still have a quorum? Okay. 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 This one, the next one is that it would again be, I'm looking for a discussion of data centers. And I don't know that there's any data centers proposed for Worcester, but data centers suck huge amounts of energy, and I think if we ended up with, a big one here, it could blow some of our goals right out of the water in terms of getting the use of energy down. So I would like to see GWOC discuss what our position would be about data centers. And there's a couple of, without getting into it, there's a couple of ways we could go with that. Either just we don't want it, or how it should be evaluated, et cetera. But that would, the request is to have a discussion of data centers on the July agenda.
So based on our previous conversation, are we going to get information or a speaker, or maybe somebody could come in and provide information about data centers to us?
If you want me to do a little research and give an initial report and presentation to frame a conversation, I can do that.
I think that would be very helpful.
Okay, sure. Yeah, no, I'm not asking DSR to go out and, take on some other big problem. I'm happy to do that.
So through the chair, if I may suggest, if Ted, you could make a motion to offer to provide a presentation at the next meeting regarding data centers.
Okay, but that allows for questions and answers and discussion, correct? Okay, so motion then to allow for a presentation on data centers at the next meeting.
By Ted. By Ted.
By Ted, if he's ready. If I'm not ready, I'll tell you to delay it.
All right,
You'll
do
be
we have a
okay with that.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. We're going to go to the list. Mary Niddle, yes. Evelyn, no, not here. Pat Austin,
Yes.
Ted Kana,
Yes,
Mary is not here still. Stephen had to leave, and Deirdre Murphy.
Yes.
Okay, that's 4 yeses. All right, one more, Ted.
one more. The final one is, so we discovered this when we were working on the minutes. The language of 12.8, Green Worcester Plan 12.8 that I had was different from what Jesse had. As we were looking at 2 different pages of the report. But the page she was looking at was and you know, I've been all over this page in the past, and we've talked about it in the past, that it was the page of 10 early actions that would you know, there was like, out of the blocks, we're going to take these 10 things on. And so I reviewed that, and it's a little surprising to me. Some of them are big things, and they're presented as early actions. The good news is we've taken a big bite out of most of them, and a lot of it is underway, so the news is good. What I would like to do is to have it on the agenda to sort of go through that page of those early actions and get a report to this committee on where each of them stands. Doesn't have to be in great detail. I mean, and some of them are easy. It's like, do a zero waste master plan. Well, great, that's underway. A couple of them are important and haven't happened yet, and it would be good to know what's up with those. So the motion is for a report on the status of the 10 Green Worcester Plan early action items on page 15 of the Green Worcester Plan. And again, this is stuff, I mean, if we were talking privately, I think Chief John knows all this stuff. It's all in his head. Enough of it. You know more than we do. So I would think that could be on the July agenda. I'm not asking for a written report. I just would like to go through it and see where we're at.
Okay, you have captured it as Ted said it. Said it? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. The roll, Mary Niddle, yes. Pat Austin,
Yes.
Ted Kana,
Yes.
Evelyn and Mary not here. Mary's still not here, right? Stephen is not here still, and Deirdre Murphy.
Yes.
Okay, 4 yeses. And does anybody else have something they would like to put on a future agenda? Not hearing any, we can call this meeting to a close.
Through the chair, upcoming
really?
events.
Oh, we forgot upcoming events. Go ahead, Ted. Do
I
you
only
have an
have-
upcoming event?
I have one. It's not exactly an event, and I think I may have emailed this to everyone last night.
Oh, you did?
Around midnight, but apparently the Union of Concerned Scientists has a climate display at the Northborough Free Library during the month of June. And I'm not sure if what's on display is just the thing that I emailed or if there's something more, but they're basically calling out the fossil fuel industry for their decades of obfuscation on climate change, and I thought that was worth announcing.
That's good. It is. Thank you for sharing. Any other upcoming events? Okay, then I would like to thank everybody for being here tonight. Our next meeting is July 27th, and we will call this meeting to a close. Thanks, everybody.
So moved.
Oh, God, we need a motion. Do we have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you, Deirdre.
Thank you.